The cost of everything, from groceries to healthcare to eating out, is still on the rise, making it difficult for many to keep their budget in check and save for the future. Hello and welcome to this month's edition of Rural America Live with AARP. I'm Christina Loren. Although inflation appears to be slowing down, it's still a challenge to save for a rainy day. So tonight, we're going to share valuable tips to help you save money with a focus on Rural Money Matters with our guest, AARP Iowa State Director Brad Anderson, and Director of AARP Minnesota, Kathy McClear, is with us. A little bit later on in the show, author Chris Farrell will join us. He's an economic journalist with Minnesota Public Radio. He's going to take your calls and answer your financial questions. We want you to join our conversation tonight. You might want to grab a pen, maybe just stick this number right in your phone and save it. 877-283-7570. You are a big part of our show tonight. We want to hear from you. Our question of the month is, what is your number one savings tip for beating inflation? Share with us, and you might just be a winner. We're giving away a cooler to 5 lucky on-air callers, so pick up the phone and join our conversation, 877-283-7570. These are quality, hard-sided coolers, and you know what? AARP will even cover the shipping. Now, you don't need to be a member of AARP or even over the age of 50 to win. But as a friendly reminder, you can only win one time each calendar year. Join the conversation, 877-283-7570. And if you are a winner tonight, AARP will call you back in the next few days to confirm your mailing address. So make sure to return that call. And now we welcome tonight's guest, Brad Anderson, Director of AARP Iowa. Kathy McClear is joining us. She's the Director of AARP Minnesota. Wonderful to have you both back on the show with us tonight.
It's great to be on. This is my favorite episode.
I think, you know what, it's one of my top 3. I love every single episode that we do, but this is one that we can all learn from, and we get to learn from you, our audience, as well. You know what, we are talking about something that's released each and every summer, 99 Great Ways to Save. Did you enjoy this year's read?
Oh, I've got it dog-eared. In fact, this is the one that came in my mailbox, and I've got it dog-eared, and I read it cover to cover. It was excellent.
I love it.
And what I love about this issue is that a lot of it's, common sense stuff that maybe your grandmother told you, your mother told you, but there are some very surprising tips we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, some real eye-opening ways that we can actually make a long-term plan and really make this cost-effective book a part of our lifestyle, the way that we live. And so this is a great way. And it's a tough time right now for a lot of people, a lot of economic uncertainty out there. We want to keep tonight's show fun for our audience as well. Brad, let's start, though, with something that's pretty serious. Why is it so much harder for older Americans to cope with inflation? We know that prices are somewhat coming down, but it's a very slow process.
It is slow. The good news is inflation is cooling, right? And so that does have an impact. But the course of inflation over the last couple of years took a bite out of older Americans' savings. And there are some things out there that just remain stubbornly expensive. For example, water bills in central Iowa, where I live, are nearly double what they were 10 or 15 years ago.
Wow.
Double. We've got prescription drug costs that remain stubbornly high because pharmaceutical companies deny access to generics. And so we've got these things that remain very expensive. But when it comes to water and medicine, these are things that older Americans need. So they're going to need to buy them. So if you're about ready to retire, you may be wondering, how on earth am I going to pay for this stuff? So my advice would be to get a pen and paper and listen to tonight's show and actually jot down some of these tips, because we're going to talk about saving money, and we're going to really focus on stretching those dollars.
I love that. And Kathy, in Minnesota, it's difficult as well you talk about going to the grocery store. You look at the price of beef, you look at the price for vegetables even, they've gone way up. That's why this 99 Great Ways to Save is so important right now.
It is. I mean, the cost of everything is going up, right? And the other thing to think about is, what is your income? And for folks who are over 50 or maybe nearing retirement or in retirement, those sources of income are Social Security, that earned benefit that everyone pays into over a lifetime. Maybe you've had some personal savings, and maybe you had a 401k through your employer, but really the days of those pensions are long gone. And so when you're living on a very fixed income, and if your financial advisor has, invested you more conservatively as you get closer to retirement, you don't have as much time to let that grow or to deal with those fluctuations in the stock market. And so living on that fixed income is really tough sometimes for folks when that's all they have. And so we really hope that tonight's tips are going to give people some real tangible ways to save that money and stretch a dollar.
And we're not just going to go through some of the best tips that we were able to sort through and find the most helpful tips for our viewer in this 99 Great Ways to Save. We want to hear your tips tonight. Give us a call at 877-283-7570 and let us know some of the adjustments that you've had to make in your own life to compensate for your dollar not going as far at the grocery store when it comes to paying your utility bills. We want to hear from you. 877-283-7570. Brad, where are we going to start?
Well, we're going to start with my favorite topic, and that's groceries. I do the grocery shopping in my house, so let's kick things off with groceries. We've got a number of great tips from our bulletin here. Number one is download your grocery store's app. So the loyalty card that we're all kind of used to having is now virtual. So 2/3 of supermarkets have digital deals accessible only by their app. And so I logged into my app, for example, tonight, just to check it out. $1.99 Iowa thick bone-in pork chops at my grocery store. You can bet your bottom dollar I'm stopping there after I get home. Number two is use coupons when ordering online. So the average grocery shopper could save more than $300 per year by using the online coupons for at-home purchases. And you can search the internet for coupons. There's a site like Honey that will automatically populate your browser and insert the coupons. So there are a number of ways to do that, but bottom line is get those digital coupons. And then third is have two shopping lists. The first is all the items you need for the coming week, and the second are your pantry items. And so these are great tips. I do want to offer a fourth tip that is not featured here, though, because I'm a blueberry aficionado. I have them every morning in my cereal. And the tip is take the blueberry carton, tip it upside down, and if the blueberries are sticking to the bottom, they're mushy and they're not going to last as long. Nobody likes mushy blueberries. Use that tip and you will have fresh blueberries.
That's excellent. And they're loaded with antioxidants. So thank you
They're
for that tip.
You.
Yeah, very healthy. Kathy, what do you have for us?
So I'm going with the buy it used or buy nothing, because what's better than free, right?
Oh, yeah.
So first of all, cell phones. If you can live without having the latest and greatest one that came out, there are a number of online resellers or local resellers who sell refurbished cell phones, and it's much more affordable than a brand new one. And you can still protect your purchase by looking for at least a 1-year warranty, so you know it's going to work for you for a while. The other one is furniture. You can find great deals for really nice furniture on Facebook Marketplace, Nextdoor, or some other peer-to-peer platforms. And you can also score some great deals through either consignment shops or a pre-owned furniture store. Now, the third one is yard equipment. So kind of like, buying a used car, let somebody take the depreciation off. Same thing for yard equipment. So if someone is selling their home and they're downsizing and they're selling their lawnmower or their snow plow, those kinds of things, you can buy them pre-owned and they still have a lot of life in them. And there's some great sites that do that. But here's my personal favorite. My personal favorite is my neighborhood Buy Nothing page. And it is literally Buy Nothing through Facebook. Folks have something that still has some life left in it, and they post it on the page and they gift it to someone else. And if you are interested, you just say you're interested and then you make arrangements to meet up and get it. I've actually unloaded some things that I knew someone might want and still had some life left in them, and I've actually received a couple of things that have been really fantastic.
Wow.
So love my Buy Nothing page. It's fabulous. But word of caution, if you're going to buy something online on one of those peer-to-peer platforms, beware of scammers. Make sure it's legit. Make sure you're arranging a safe meeting place. And if anyone ever asks you to pay for something with a gift card, it's probably a scam.
We've learned that on many of the scam shows that we've done. Fraudsters are out there, but wow, I never even would have thought of that. I'm going to check that out as soon as we're done with the show tonight. We are going to pause for a quick break, but we want to hear from you. Recreational activities are usually the first to go, and we have to tighten the financial belt in our households. Let us know what you're doing. How are you saving money? Maybe you found new ways to entertain yourself on a budget. Share with us tonight. How are you changing the way that you live and making purchases to cope with inflation? 877-283-7570 is the number to call. We're going to pause for a quick break. But before we do, and before we bring in our guest tonight, economic journalist Chris Farrell from Minnesota Public Radio, we have one more tip. Let's go ahead and roll that. Welcome back to Rural America Live with AARP. I'm Christina Loren. We are focusing on rural money matters tonight, and we want to hear from you. And you might just be a winner. We've got 5 coolers to give away. Pick up the phone. The lines are open now, 877-283-7570, and join our conversation. Maybe you have a favorite savings tip that we have not heard before. We want to hear from you. How are you saving money right now and keeping your finances in line? Maybe you return to work after a brief retirement. What is life like for you in these times of high inflation? Joining us once again, Kathy McClear, Director for AARP Minnesota, and Brad Anderson from AARP Iowa. And joining us now is economic journalist and author Chris Farrell. You have been on the show before. Welcome back, Chris.
I'm so glad you had me back.
Oh, you are a viewer favorite. Now, this is the first time we've had you in person. Throughout the pandemic, we had Skype going. But yeah, it's great to have you here in person. And I know that our viewers are going to want to talk to you tonight. You keep a close eye on how the economy is doing. What feeling are you getting from people out there? Are things getting a little bit easier? Are they still retiring in record numbers?
So the economy continues to grow. The employment rate, is at a half-century low, keeps bouncing around that half-century low. Inflation is coming down, but we've been through a really tough period of time. If you think about the pandemic and then coming out of the pandemic and higher inflation and all the supply chain issues. So people have really been battered a lot over the years. But overall, the way I think about the economy is jobs. And when people have jobs and jobs are continuing to grow, that's the definition of an economy that's doing well.
The GDP, it's still strong. We have not seen 2 consecutive terms of economic downturn just yet, which means we're not technically in a recession. There are some fears going forward about 2024, and we're going to talk to you more about that and what you think a little bit later on in the show. But I will ask you your thoughts on how folks can boost their retirement. It's different for everybody, but what tips do you have to share with us tonight?
Oh, well, all kinds of tips to, as you prepare for your retirement. And one of them is it's just really important to think about what it is you want to do next, right? What is it that you want to do next? And as part of that, you want to make a blueprint of your household finances. And what that basically means is what are you spending and what do you have coming in? And the reason why that's so important is that's sort of your GPS. We're in the car and it tells you where you're going. You need to know where you are in order to improve your circumstances or change where you're spending.
Okay, you obviously want to have more coming in than what's going out, which is very difficult for many of us.
So invest your time to understand your best options with Social Security and Medicare. These earned benefits, this is our social insurance system, and it's just so important to understand these options. And so to take the time, do your research. It can really make a difference when do you file for Social Security, for example. You think about Medicare. Are you going to do traditional Medicare or Medicare Advantage? And don't rush these decisions and don't just turn to your neighbor and say, what did you do? You want to research it.
Absolutely. You got to consider a supplement as well. Which one's going to be best for you?
So This is something that I talk a lot about, which is considering working longer if practical. Now, I understand for some people, because of their health or they're doing caregiving, there can be lots of reasons why people can't continue to work. But even, earning a little bit of part-time income, it can really help out your finances a lot. Maybe some gig economy work. Maybe you've been going to the hardware store a lot. Well, maybe go down to the hardware store and say, hey, I've been a good customer all these years. Would you like me to hire me as an employee? And if you think about it, we're in an economy where employers are looking for workers.
Yes.
So you have a little more negotiating room. So again, if you can bring in an income, that can really help.
Absolutely. I've heard from several people who've retired and now they're driving for Uber and they love it.
Exactly. And part of it is it adds to your connection, your social life. You talk to people and, work is obviously an income, but a big part of work is also a community.
It absolutely is. Speaking of community, we are so glad that you are part of ours tonight. We're going to head to the phones in just a moment, but talk a little bit more about this. This is important because you don't want to make the transition to retirement on your own.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of times the conversation is about, what can you do and how do you approach it? But if you have a financial advisor or people that can help you, great.
Yes.
If that's not an option for you or you don't want to do that, tap into your network of friends, tap into people that you know that have retired, tap into your family, your extended family. So get as much information as you can and share your information, share these conversations, because you're not the first person that has retired. And lots of people do have experience and they have some insights that they can pass on. You're not alone. And I think it's really important to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. A financial planner is worth their weight in gold many times. Talk about this one. Where will you live? What do we need to keep in mind there?
So there, I'm going to emphasize one point. Most of us, in all the surveys, AARP surveys, people want to age in the home. But what I want to emphasize is you want to age in community. And that may be your home, but it may be that you do downsize or you do move, but you always want to be thinking about who am I going to have ice cream with? Who am I going to meet for coffee? Who am I going to go to the movies with? How am I going to get to the doctor? So think about your community and how your decision fits into, you want to stay connected. And so we tend to think about, well, I don't want to downsize, or I want to think about your community and how you fit into it.
That's great. And our community tonight, they will be sharing their tips. What would you like to hear from our viewers? What are you looking for?
Oh, well, part of it is I'm just always amazed at the creativity of people, right? I mean, people are incredibly creative with their money, and they come up with all kinds of ideas that I wouldn't think about, or I'm sure you wouldn't think about. So it's like luxuriating in the creativity of people.
Yeah, and we're going to get some great tips. We're going to start in Canada. We're going international for our first
Excellent.
call.
International. Love
That's
that.
right. We're going international. Billy, thanks so much for joining us tonight. What is on your mind? How do you save money in these tough financial times?
So I actually do a lot of price matching, but I do have a statement or a question as a farmer, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely.
In regards to the price of beef, to the farmer, I only get about $1.75 per pound, whereas the grocery store gets $7 to $8 to $10. I realize that the dress out of cattle is only 58%, but I was wondering if there was any advice that you could give to a fellow cattle farmer as regards to things that I can do personally to be able to make sure that I do get the best of my investments.
So in terms of farming, this has been the story, this has been the history of farming, where the farmer, they're out with the cattle, they're out in the field, the corn, the soybeans, the berries, and they get a small fraction of the money that is made. And as it moves on the railroads, as it moves into the store, there's lots of people that are going to make more money. And so I don't have an enormous expertise here, but one of the things that's interesting, and I did this story a little while ago, interviewing a cattle farmer, had 88 grass-fed beef, and she was doing one of the things that really helped was selling a lot of it online, selling it out of her home. And so she developed that kind of a presence. And I can imagine in Iowa, there's a lot of creativity going on in terms of selling beef.
I love it. Farm to table is really taking off as well. So that's a great tip that you brought up. Thank you so much for that call. We appreciate it.
And I would also say that if you really want to support your folks in your community, there are lots of crop share programs where you can buy directly from the producer, or go to your local farmers market where, someone who is truly raising the food, where where it's coming from, right? So farm to table.
I love it. Okay, that leaves a line open for you. You could be a winner tonight, and you're going to be a winner no matter what if you share a tip with us. 877-283-7570. We want to hear from you. We're all in this together. We're going back to the phones, and we're going to Iowa. We are going to Iowa. Alan joins us now, and he is our first winner. Congratulations, Iowa. Alan from Iowa. Go right ahead.
All right.
Yes, I found out that I put my pickup on instantaneous gas mileage, and it's a 2010 Chevy, and I can dang near double my gas mileage just by paying attention to the instantaneous and watching how fast you drive, and it just made a big difference because I used to have to fill up every week, and now I can almost go 2 weeks to fill up. And it was a big plus.
That's a great, and actually in this episode of 99 Ways to Save, there's a whole section on transportation. And one of the things that I learned from this episode is the unjunk your trunk theory. And you can gain about 5 to 10% efficiency in your car by just unloading the golf clubs and all the equipment and tools and things that you've got in your trunk. The other thing, of course, is now the tire pressure gauge, or the tire pressure amount that you're supposed to put in your tires, is in the door. And so open your door, because it's easy to find now. They've made it easy. Look at where your tire pressure is supposed to be, and that will also increase your gas mileage pretty dramatically.
I love it. And you can also plan your trip so you're not making multiple errands going into town. If you make sure that you're going to all 3 places in town in one trip, you can save that way. Kenneth joins us now. Thanks so much for joining us, Kenneth. Go right ahead.
Yes, I wanted to tell how great it is to be with the AARP insurance. I've got insurance with AARP United Healthcare, and I've got the insurance with and it's so much cheaper with AARP than other companies. And also, anyway, I want to let you know, I let my wife's cousin told him about it, and he saved about $300 a month. So anyway, I want to tell you how much cheaper it is with AARP to have insurance with F program and A and B. So it really makes a difference in how much money you can save with AARP.
Well, we love to hear that our members are saving money. That's the best ringing endorsement we could ever have. But I think he raises a really good point that yes, we have great benefits for our members, discounts on travel and those kinds of things. And when it comes to insurance, what we like to tell everyone is do your homework, right? So, in fact, I believe that's in the issue is don't just let your insurance auto renew. Sometimes it's worth it to kind of audit your insurance, figure out what you're paying, and do some research. Find out if there might be a way to save a little bit on your car insurance or your home insurance.
And make sure you include AARP when you're looking for quotes.
But the other things he shared the information. So if you've done the research, you've done the work, and you realize this is saving you some money, let people know, right? He's letting people know by calling in here. So the other thing is, I think one of the themes that runs through these 99 is to comparison shop, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just a common theme, and we all know that, but you get lazy, you get so comparison shopping is smart no matter what.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that call, Kenneth of North Carolina. Next up is Linda from Ohio. Thanks for joining us, Linda. Go right ahead.
What we do to save money is we visit our local senior center. They have lunches for $3 per meal. And there's also the Area Council on Aging that will do small repairs and gutter cleanings and things for you for a donation. So we save money there.
That's such a great tip. And, in Iowa, we have the local area agencies on aging, and they offer an enormous number of resources on how to retrofit your home because, Chris, you were saying, people want to stay in their homes. Well, there are plenty of resources out there to help people do that, whether it's carpeting your stairs, or maybe retrofitting your bathroom. I know, for example, the USDA has grants that they offer people, $10,000 grants depending on your income, to retrofit your home to help you stay in it. And that can also be a way to save and keep you where you want to be, which is in your home.
Yeah. You want to age in place. And I love that you brought up the USDA, because you don't think of the United States Department of Agriculture as being helpful in that department, but they are. And that's why the show is so important tonight and why we want to hear from you. The number to call is 877-283-7570. Share your cost-saving tips with us. How are you getting by right now? What changes have you made? And what has really been helpful for you? We want to find out. We're going to David, our next winner. And he's joining us from Michigan tonight. Thanks so much for joining us, David. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Christina, and crew there. I really enjoy these shows that you put on periodically. My tip is actually one that I began years ago when I was sort of forced into retirement in 2007. I had to retire. I did collect my regular retirement, but I did not draw on my Social Security. I was fortunate enough, I know everybody's not in the same circumstance, but I was fortunate enough to delay retirement until age 70, and that's when Social Security maxes out. And to shorten the story a little bit, my monthly retirement from Social Security, gross, of course, is at over $4,000 per month versus $2,800 a month for fellow workers at the time. So, again, I realize not everybody can handle that kind of situation, but it did work out for me, and, of course, at my age, pushing 80 years old now, my grandchildren appreciate the extra few dollars that I can pass along.
I think he raises a really important point. I mean, Social Security is social insurance. It's the bedrock. And the way that I like to think about it is he filed at age 70. So you get the maximum benefit when you file at age 70. But it is wonderful, and it is really important that you can file earlier, all the way down to age 62. You may be caregiving, and you need an income. Your health may deteriorate. There can all be all kinds of very good reasons why you want to file earlier. But take his advice, frame it from, I'm going to go for age 70, but if life intervenes or there are other reasons why you want to file earlier, go ahead and file earlier. But that maximum benefit, that's one of the reasons why it can be a very good financial move for people to work longer. You may want to say goodbye to the company that you've been working for and the bosses that you've been working for, but that doesn't mean you can't continue to work. You might do something different, right?
Yes.
Something that maybe is totally, may tap into your skill set, but maybe something very different, new group of people, new challenges. But it can also, that money can also help you delay filing for Social Security, which is what he did.
Excellent. You just have to keep working, keep earning that income. You're right. That's such a great point to bring up. Okay, we're going to go back to the phones. Sherry joins us from Missouri now. Thanks so much for joining us. Sherry, go right ahead.
Hello. I wanted to tell you about how much I like AARP because I get the discounts for consumer cellular. And I use coupons and discounts from, I look every time I go out of town to get hotel discounts and restaurant discounts anytime I can.
Well, we appreciate that. And, we have discounts, and of course, we're clearly famous for our discounts, right? But we also have awesome resources. And I do want to encourage people, to those folks out there watching, to go to aarp.org/AARP Live, because some of the resources that we're going to talk about tonight are on that website. And one of them is a retirement calculator. And I was using this back in the green room right before the show, and it is invaluable to help you save, budget, and plan for retirement, and it's totally free, and it's provided by AARP, so check that out.
Well, you were using it before the show. Are you thinking about retiring?
I was just playing around. I want my boss to know I was just playing around with it.
But you're exactly right. You're going to find a wealth of information. Frank joins us now from Oregon. Thank you so much for joining us. Frank, go right ahead.
Thank you. I retired as an educator in '99, but in '83 I did some planning ahead for my retirement, and I bought a sawmill and a mobile dimension sawmill, and so then I decided in my retirement years I would custom cut lumber for people, and it's been a great source of supplementing our income off of our tree farm here, and also providing a service for other people that bring their logs in to me to saw here and dry. So it's been a great opportunity to meet a lot of different people from all over the country, as well as in my old region here in Western Oregon.
Love that. We call that an encore career,
That's
right?
an encore career. And it's wonderful. Here's a passion, here's an interest, but it's something he started on the side, and then he gets to meet people, as I'm sure, interesting conversations. And so sometimes when you hear work longer, it sounds oppressive, right? It sounds like, oh, I can't retire. I think he just sort of gave you that sort of, here's something that I like doing, here's something that brings in an income, I meet interesting people. And so think about your passions, think about your interests, think about what are some other things that you might want to do. And obviously he had a skill, which I do not have, of working with wood.
Brad does. Brad can woodwork.
I do some woodwork. I was getting chill bumps when he was telling that. I was like, oh my God, that is the dream.
There you go.
Own a sawmill.
We're wondering where your mind's going tonight, Brad.
Maybe I will retire.
877-283-7570 is the number to call. Join our conversation tonight. You might be a winner, just like Frank, who just joined us. You're a winner. Congratulations to you, Frank. Now you can have that cooler right next to you as you're cutting that wood for your friends. And what a great story to share. We're going to go back to the phones in just a moment, but Kathy, you've got some more tips for us.
Yeah, so this is a great one if you've got a green thumb or you're a gardener. So you can use your groceries as seeds. So if you have those scallions, some green onions, put them root side down in some water and they will sprout new ones. And then you can transplant them and have kind of a perpetual garden, right? And there's lots of other things. Celery you can do that with, even potatoes. If you like to use compost and you enjoy using coffee grounds, if you don't drink a lot of coffee or not enough to make your compost, you can get them for free. So many Starbucks stores participate in Grounds for Your Garden, which is a program that provides packaged coffee grounds. Or if you have a local coffee shop, even better, support your local businesses. Ask your local coffee shop to save those coffee grounds for you, and then you can use them in your garden. And the third one is an electrical tool system. So if you didn't buy used, like we talked about before, get one of those systems that's the electrical, weed eaters, blowers, whatever, that has the interchangeable battery, so that you just have one system that you have to use, but the battery works for all the gear that you've got.
Excellent. And Brad, I believe you got some more tips for us to share.
A couple more tips here. Here we're going to talk about utilities. And so some tips to share on how to keep those utility bills down. I had mentioned water was high. A lot of utility bills are high. The first tip is blanket your electric water heater. And so if your water heater is warm to the touch, fitting it with an insulating jacket that costs around $20 to $40 will help prevent that heat from escaping, and it will pay for itself in about a year. So some utilities will offer these blankets as a rebate. Some will even come and install them for free. Number two is get that home energy audit. And many utility companies do not charge homeowners for a professional to visit their home and search for energy leaks. Out the window, we all have energy leaks. These auditors can inspect everything from the windows to the insulation and find gaps along the windows. Plus, you might qualify for a $150 tax credit for the audit. And then finally, and this is a big one that I forget, and I'm reminded just by looking at this, is change your filters regularly. This is a big deal because replacing those home air filters is a quick 5-minute job. We've all done it, and you should perform it every 3 months on your air conditioner and furnace if you're using moderately priced filters. Doing so can save your energy bill by lowering usage up to 15%, and of course it will prolong the life of that system. So really important tip there.
And if you can take it, just take down that thermostat this time of year when the AC is pumping. Just take it down by a couple degrees and you will notice a difference on your energy bill. I certainly did.
One tip I have to remember here is from the last show we did last year, I don't know if you remember this, a woman said put a box fan near your vent if you live upstairs, and I do that to this day from the woman last year, and it does cool up your upstairs because it blows that air conditioning unit or air conditioner all around, makes it more efficient.
Yeah, heat rises, so that's usually the warm spot in the house. Excellent. And you know what? Maybe you have a tip to share with us. We want to hear from you tonight. The number is 877-283-7570. We're going to go back to the phones where Doreen joins us. We're going to go across the border again. She's coming in from Canada tonight. Thanks for joining us, Doreen. Go right ahead.
Hi. So I actually said that I have a tax-free savings account for my children and grandchildren. So in Canada, it's something that we can set up for our significant other people to be able to have them have a savings account that we can put money into to allow with a tax-free break that we're able to use within Canada.
That's a great tip.
That was a really good idea.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I had 529s for my kids, and there are also, education savings accounts. There's a number of different mechanisms, but if you have the means to be able to help those that you love save for their education, it's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the thing in the U.S. here. It's for education. The 529 plan, probably the main one. But the other thing is, particularly if they're young children, open up a savings account and take them to the bank or some sort of physical community bank. Open up that savings account. You're not going to pay that much in taxes anyway. And just sort of, make that part of growing up and what is money and what is this experience. And so I think, and again, it's not a tax-free account here in the U.S., but practically, to all intents and purposes, it's tax-free.
Yeah, and you're going to teach, like you're mentioning, you're going to be able to teach that young person how to save.
And all these tips that we're having, one of the things that just seems that this intergenerational exchange of knowledge that you want to be going on. And one thing as adults we can do is teach young people about money.
I love it. Maybe, go ahead.
And what I've heard is more is caught than taught. So if you live by an example and you're doing these money saving tips, your kids will learn a lot more than you think without having to explicitly tell them. They'll catch it and they'll just absorb it.
I love
Learn
that.
it by accident.
Hopefully. Larry from Missouri joins us now. Larry, congratulations, sir. You are a winner tonight. What's on your mind?
Without having to explicitly tell them, they'll catch it and they'll just absorb it.
Larry, I think you might want to step away from your television set if you can.
You are a winner tonight. What's on your mind? Larry, do you want to turn your TV down so you can share your tip?
Okay, I got it.
There you go.
I'm there. I live in the state of Missouri, and I have a processing plant. And during deer season, most of these states have what they call a share of the harvest or some kind of a food pantry program that they allow the hunter to go ahead and donate their deer to this food pantry. We in turn grind it up, package it, and give it to the local food pantries, and therefore low-income people can receive that, and through that process they can get protein.
That's an excellent tip. My husband's a hunter, and he's done that before.
Yeah.
Great tip.
Okay, well, on that note, we want to hear from you tonight. 877-283-7570. We're going to pause for a quick break, but we still have one cooler to give away. It could be yours. If you join the conversation, share your tip. You're going to be helping other people as well. Before we go to break, another AARP member has provided a great money-saving tip. Take a look. Welcome back to Rural America Live with AARP. We still have a cooler to give away. It could be yours. We're going to go straight to the phones. Want to make sure you have the number 877-283-7570. Next up is Jeannie from Iowa. Thanks for joining us. Go right ahead.
Hi. I have a friend who is taking care of a World War II veteran and not being related to him and just caring for him, she is getting supplemented with her income. I suggested that she would see a commanding officer, and they would guide her with the paperwork, which she got. And then also, if you are a family member, you can also get compensation for caring for a veteran. And all veterans, of course, get discounts on their properties that they own, plus discounts at Lowe's and Menards and places like that. And I just don't know if a lot of people know that. So I think it's a great thing that the government will allow help for our veterans.
It is a wonderful thing, and it is really important, and these benefits do exist. And I also think there's another point where, there are a lot of resources in the community provided by federal government, state, and local governments. And the information is all over the place. We don't have it on our fingertips. I mean, most of us don't unless you live that. And so it was really important, she knows about the veterans benefits, and making sure that her friend takes advantage of those veteran benefits. But there are other benefits in the community. You had mentioned about, in terms of you're going to want to make your home more energy efficient. I mean, there can be tax credits. So think about, investigate, research various programs, depending on what the problem you're trying to solve. There may be a program out there, there may be a tax credit, there may be some organization that can help you out.
Yeah, you just have to seek out those resources. And
That's
I think
right.
in many communities, there are programs that even if you're not a veteran, you can hire a family member or a close friend to be a personal care assistant, and they can get some income simply by doing that job of caregiving, which is so important.
Oh, so important. And oftentimes it's a job you don't get a lot of credit for, you don't get a lot of appreciation for. So we want to thank all of the caregivers out there. We tip our hats to you. We know you work hard and we appreciate what you do. Jeannie, by the way, you're a winner. Congratulations.
Iowa.
There we go. Iowa making a
Congrats,
big appearance. We're going to go to California, my home state now, where James joins the conversation. Thanks for joining us, James. Go right ahead.
Hey, good evening. James from Malibu, Bakersfield / Chico, California. How you like that one? I like that one. What's going on in the rural communities as far as the healthcare stuff, bottled water, and the stuff like in NorCal? I have a major question with that in Northern California. Go ahead.
What's going on with the bottled
water?
water?
James, do you want to maybe broaden that out a little bit for us? Elaborate on, you said bottled
I can't. Up in Bakersfield in Chico, where I live, we don't have a lot of stuff in the rural areas, but they really advertise a lot of stuff on bottled water and stuff like that, which is, in this time of the year, is very hot up there. Very, very hot. I know it's AARP. I know the question I should ask you. I'm done with that.
Yeah. So on a money-saving tip, and I'm not sure this is where he was going or not, but it just, one of the things is, and we all do this, we've all used bottled water, but to the extent that you have your own container, you go to the tap water in the United States in most places, is healthy and is good. And there's really oftentimes not a reason to be buying bottled water. Now, you may be traveling, there are lots of reasons to come in, but I do think you can save a lot of money by, to the extent that it's practical, avoid bottled water, right?
That's absolutely right. And James, I was a meteorologist in both Bakersfield and Chico, and you are right, sir. It is very, very hot this time of year. Thank you so much for that call. We appreciate you, James, for calling in. As we get our next caller, I want to make sure that you have the number to call in tonight. 877-283-7570 is the number to call. As we look ahead, Chris, I will ask you about, are we going to see a recession in 2024? Because this is something that keeps coming up. You're an economic journalist. What are you hearing?
So I don't know if it was Albert Einstein or Samuel Goldwyn who said, never make predictions about the future. And so we do know that at some point we are going to have recession. It's the nature of an economy, right? But this is the recession that was supposed to happen in 2023 has been forecast over and over again. Now people are backing away from that. It's being pushed off to 2024. So I think, these are forecasts. And so, we're talking about money and money-saving tips. And so what you want to do is, whether or not we have a recession or not, it will happen at some point. So think about, how do I prepare myself? Have a frugal mindset. All these tips that we're talking about, it's about being frugal, not being cheap, but it's about being frugal. And so the economy will go down at some point, and you want to be prepared for that, not surprised. But the notion that someone is going to be able to predict when it's going to happen, second quarter of 2024, I would put no credence into that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Patty from Minnesota is our next caller. That's right, Patty. Thank you so much for joining us. Go right ahead.
I am calling from beautiful Dayton, Minnesota, and I have a grocery saving tip. I buy my groceries online, and I only buy what's on sale and send my husband to the store to pick them up. And I save money by my husband just picking up exactly what I ordered and exactly what I need and not pushing the cart through the store and getting a bunch of stuff we don't need and that's not on sale. So I save a lot of money that way.
Yes, Patty, you were very wise to avoid those impulse purchases, right? We all do it. We all go to the grocery store and, oh, well, that looks really good today, but maybe it's not on sale or maybe it's out of season. And by ordering online, you can save a lot of money because you stick to your list. It's a great tip.
Well, that's the thing. The list is another way of doing it. I think we've all done that. You go to the grocery store with your list and you stick to it.
And Brad, you mentioned early on in the show that you do the grocery shopping at your house. Is there a similar situation happening? Your wife knows that if you go, you'll get exactly what's on the list?
I don't get what's on the list. And I am the example. I am the opposite of what was just shared right there. And I'm the problem, frankly. But, the online shopping is one of the silver linings that came out of the pandemic, because there are more and more older Americans who are now shopping online, and oftentimes these grocery stores do it for free. They allow that service for free now, and it was kind of rare before the pandemic, but now it's more common. So
yeah, in fact, I just helped my parents placed an order online, and I went to pick it up, and my dad said, "Well, how much does that cost?" I said, "It's free, Dad. It's absolutely free. They do the shopping for you."
I love that. But then you can't do your blueberry tip. When
That's
you
true.
Flip them over.
I'm hoping the shopper does the blueberry tip. Write that in the notes section.
Yes.
877-283-7570 is the number to call. We still have a cooler to give away. Ima is our next caller. Thanks so much for joining us. Go right ahead.
Hi, I'm calling from Tucumcari, New Mexico, and I keep a two-gallon bucket in my kitchen sink to wash my hands. If I'm washing vegetables, I place that water in the bucket. Yeah, I do a lot of home canning and freezing, and so I save a lot of money on using that water by watering my shrubbery outside. We're on a water system, and that saves a lot of money that way, and it's also going back into the soil rather than in the septic tank.
My coworker, that period at which the shower is on, but you're waiting for it to get warm, has a similar bucket, just like Ina, and keeps that water and then uses it for her garden. So that's a great tip on how to save water. And these days, of course, where you're seeing more and more water shortages, it's more important than ever that we do stuff like that.
And it's good for the environment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really sustainability mindset, right? And I think it's just wonderful when people do things like that.
You're really such smart viewers.
Yes.
And the farmers, of course, appreciate it. They know how scarce water is and how valuable it is, the ultimate commodity. Thank you so much for that call. We appreciate you calling in from New Mexico. Now, people who are watching at home, they might be wondering, how can I get the 99 great ways to save? How can I find out what's in there? What would you suggest?
Yeah, well, if you were an AARP member, that came directly to your house in your mailbox. So that's a great way. And if you want to get it next year, that might be a good reason to become an AARP member. But you can also get it online. And so we have all the resources that you've heard about tonight. We have at aarp.org/AARP Live, including a link that will take you directly to the online AARP Bulletin article of 99 Ways to Save. So you can get it online, and you don't have to be a member to access that.
I love it, and it's really fantastic. I mean, you're going to find something in here that will fit your lifestyle and help you save money. Let's talk about the pathways to financial freedom.
Sure. Well, these are some great tips to think about if you are looking to achieve financial freedom. And I think we have some tips here. So the first one is to keep your fixed costs low. So you can decide if you're going to take that vacation or how much you're going to spend when you go out to dinner, but you can't always adjust your mortgage or your rent, or you can adjust your water bill a little bit by how much you use. But if you can keep your fixed costs really low, and maybe that's paying off your mortgage early so that you don't have that debt when you get into retirement. So taking a look at the second tip is think about what expenses bring you happiness. And Chris has talked about this all night, right? Finding some purpose in retirement. So, we have gotten to a point where for holidays, we give experiences instead of stuff. And so if you look back over your expenses over the last year or two, think about what you bought and what really made you happy and what you remember. Let's take a look at the next one. Shop and get a killer deal. We talked about coupons. We talked about, shopping the sales, what's in season at your store. I worked in retail as a teenager, and I tell you, I will never pay full price for retail ever again because it always goes on sale, right? Maybe it's the end of the season. Maybe it's just the sale that happens every other week. But look for those killer deals. Shop the discount stores, and you can always find a good deal. And then set up those automatic savings for your retirement account. So if you're still working, if you don't see it, you don't miss it, right? So set it up to automatically come out of your paycheck, go directly into your 401k or another type of retirement plan. If you've already maxed out all of those things, you can even set it up to go directly into just a general savings account. And if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. If you don't see it come into your checking account, if it's already in another account, then you're in a good place.
Excellent. I think we're all in a better place tonight after really having a great conversation together, having a chance to learn from one another, and now our minds are going to be thinking about ways to save. What are your final thoughts for us tonight, Chris?
So I think you mentioned passion and the call with the lumber and the furniture. So I think one of the things is when we're talking about retirement and saving money, it's about, there's that expression, you don't retire from, you retire to. And so think about, as you're nearing these years, and the money really is important, the savings is really important, but you really also want to be thinking about, what do I want to do next? What gives me meaning? What gives me purpose? And, that can just provide so much sustenance, and it is an exciting time of life. And so that would be my final word. What is your purpose?
I love that. And community, you brought that up, such an important word when it comes to finding a purpose.
You need to be connected because we're social creatures.
Excellent. Final thoughts, Brad?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and plug that website one more time because, again, AARP has just such tremendous resources. We have a Social Security calculator. We have a retirement calculator. We have a home fit modification tool that allows you to retrofit your home to help you stay in it. So go to aarp.org/AARP Live. We've got tremendous free resources out there. Take advantage of those.
And Kathy, Minnesota representing tonight.
Yes, we're very excited to be representing from the North Star State.
Absolutely.
So my tip is some tips we've heard throughout the show tonight of discounts for veterans. So if you are a veteran or if you are active duty or a retired military member, there are a lot of big name retailers that will give you a 10% discount even on things like appliances. And my husband is a veteran, so I thank him for his service every day. We went to a great concert in Minnesota at Target Field for free because an organization had donated some tickets to veterans, and he signed up and was able to get them. So free is always great, right?
Absolutely. It absolutely is. I want to thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Thank you at home. That about does it for us tonight. But make sure you tune in next month, August 17th. Might want to put that in your calendar. The Oak Ridge Boys will join us for another edition of Rural America Live with AARP. Wishing you and your family a beautifully blessed evening.